I thought he was perfect until I found the blue folder. I never thought I would be the person who has a crazy relationship story to tell. You see these things on the internet or in movies, and you always think it could never happen to you. I met Leo at a small bakery about 3 years ago. He was wearing this bright blue sweater, and he looked so lost looking at the menu. I helped him pick a pastry, and we ended up talking for 2 hours. He was kind, he listened, and he seemed so grounded. For the first year, everything was like a dream. He would leave me little notes in my lunch bag. He always remembered my favorite flowers. My friends were actually jealous of us. They told me I had found the one, and I truly believed them. We moved in together after 14 months. It felt like the natural next step. Our apartment was small, but it was ours. We spent our weekends painting the walls and buying plants that we eventually killed because we forgot to water them. I thought I knew every single thing about him. I knew his coffee order, his shoe size, and the way he liked his toast. But looking back, there were tiny things I should have noticed. He never talked about his family much. He said they were just not close and lived in a different country. I respected his privacy because I did not want to push him. I thought I was being a supportive girlfriend by giving him space. I did not realize that space was where he kept all his secrets. We were planning our future together. We talked about kids and where we wanted to live. He seemed so invested in us. It is scary how someone can look you in the eyes and tell you they love you while hiding a whole other side of themselves. I want to tell you this story because I want you to know that your gut feeling is usually right. If something feels off, it probably is. Even if everything looks perfect on the outside, there might be something hiding underneath. I spent 3 years with a man I did not really know at all. It started with a simple phone call that he did not pick up. That was the first day the cracks started to show in our perfect life. I remember sitting on the sofa waiting for him to come home and feeling a weird chill in my bones. I told myself I was just being paranoid. I told myself I was lucky to have him. But I was not lucky. I was just blind to the truth that was right in front of me. As the second year of our relationship went on, Leo started to have these work trips. He worked in marketing, or at least that is what he told me. He said his company was expanding and they needed him to travel to oversee new projects. At first, it was just a weekend here and there. I would miss him, but I was happy for his success. He always came back with gifts for me. He would bring me expensive chocolates or jewelry. I thought he was just being sweet. But then the trips became longer. He would be gone for a week or even 10 days at a time. When he was away, he was hard to reach. He said the signal in the hotels was bad, or he was in back-to-back meetings. I started to feel lonely in our apartment. I would text him and wait hours for a reply. When he did reply, it was short and felt cold. When he came back home, he was different too. He was more tired, and he stopped leaving those little notes. He started keeping his phone face down on the table. He changed his password and did not tell me. I did not want to be that girl who snoops, so I tried to ignore it. I told myself that he was just stressed with work. I tried to make things easier for him at home. I cooked his favorite meals and kept the house clean. One night, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a notification from an app I did not recognize. It was not a social media app. It looked like a private messaging system. The message just said, "Is she gone yet?" My heart dropped. I felt like I could not breathe. I did not open the phone because I was too scared of what I might find. When he came out of the shower, he saw me looking at the phone. He grabbed it quickly and his face turned red. He told me it was just a joke from a coworker. He said they were planning a surprise for me. He was so convincing. He hugged me and told me he loved me. He made me feel like I was the crazy one for even questioning him. I wanted to believe him so badly that I did. I let it go. But that feeling in my stomach did not go away. It just sat there, growing bigger every day. I started to wonder who I was actually living with. I started to wonder if the man I loved was even real. The real turning point happened on a Tuesday. Leo told me he was going on a 5-day trip to Chicago. He left early in the morning while I was still asleep. He kissed my forehead and told me he would call me when he landed. About 2 hours after he left, I realized he had forgotten his laptop. He never did that. He usually kept it in his bag at all times. I thought I would be a good girlfriend and drive it to the airport for him. I grabbed his laptop bag from the closet, but when I picked it up, it felt heavy in a weird way. I opened the bag to make sure the charger was inside. That is when I saw it. It was a bright blue folder tucked into a hidden pocket. I should have just closed the bag and left, but I couldn't. I pulled out the folder and sat down on the floor. Inside were documents that did not make any sense. There were bank statements from an account I did not know about. The balance was huge, more money than we should have had. There were also flight receipts. He was not going to Chicago. He was going to a city in Florida. He had been going there every single time he said he was on a work trip. I felt like the world was spinning. I kept digging through the folder. I found a copy of a lease for an apartment in that city. It had his name on it, but it also had another name. It was a woman's name. I felt like I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the papers. Then, at the very bottom of the folder, I found a photograph. It was Leo. He was standing on a beach looking happier than I had ever seen him. He was holding a small child, a little boy who looked exactly like him. Standing next to him was the woman from the lease. They looked like a perfect family. They looked like the life he told me he wanted with me. I realized in that moment that my entire life for the last 3 years was a lie. He did not have a job in marketing. He did not have a family that lived far away. He had a whole other family in another state. I was not his partner. I was his secret. I was the person he came to when he wanted to escape his real life. I sat on that floor for hours. I did not cry at first. I was just numb. I looked at our photos on the wall and they felt like they belonged to someone else. I realized I did not know him at all. I did not go to the airport. I stayed on the floor until the sun went down. I waited for his call to say he landed, but it never came. He probably thought he was safe because I had stayed home. I realized I had to be smart. I did not want to just scream and let him lie to me again. I took photos of everything in that blue folder. I sent them to my own email, and then I put everything back exactly how I found it. I put the laptop bag back in the closet. When he finally called me that night, I acted like everything was normal. My voice was shaking, but I told him I was just tired. He told me Chicago was cold and he missed me. I wanted to scream through the phone. I wanted to ask him how he could sleep at night. But I waited. I waited until he came back 5 days later. He walked through the door with a box of my favorite donuts. He tried to kiss me, but I stepped back. I told him we needed to talk. He tried to do his usual thing. He tried to act charming and confused. He asked me what was wrong. I did not say a word. I just walked over to the closet, pulled out the laptop bag, and threw the blue folder on the table. The look on his face is something I will never forget. All the color drained from his skin. He did not even try to deny it at first. He just stood there staring at the folder. Then the lies started. He told me it was complicated. He said he was going to tell me. He said he didn't love her and that he stayed for the child. He told me that I was his true love and that he was trying to find a way to leave his other life for me. He cried. He got down on his knees and begged me to listen. He said he had made a mistake and that things got out of control. But how do you make a mistake for 3 years? How do you sign a lease and have a child by mistake? I realized that everything he said was just another layer of the story he was building. He was a professional liar. He had spent years making sure I never met his friends or family. He had kept our lives completely separate from his real world. I told him he had 1 hour to pack his things and leave. He tried to argue, but I told him I would call the woman in the photo if he didn't go. That was the only thing that moved him. He was not afraid of losing me. He was afraid of his 2 worlds crashing into each other. He packed his suitcase in silence and walked out the door. He didn't even look back. The weeks after he left were the hardest of my life. I had to pack up our apartment because I couldn't afford it on my own. Everywhere I looked, I saw him. I saw the wall we painted. I saw the spot on the sofa where we watched movies. I felt like I was grieving someone who had died, but it was worse because the person I loved never actually existed. He was a character he created for me. I went to therapy and I talked to my friends. They were shocked. Nobody saw it coming. That is the thing about people who lead double lives. They are very good at being what you need them to be. I eventually reached out to the woman in Florida. I felt like she deserved to know. We talked on the phone for a long time. She had no idea about me either. She thought he was traveling for work when he was with me. We were both victims of the same man. It was a strange kind of closure. Now, a year later, I am starting to feel like myself again. I have my own place now. It is decorated exactly how I want it. I don't have to wonder where anyone is or who they are texting. I learned that you cannot fix someone who is built on lies. I also learned that I am much stronger than I thought. I survived the worst betrayal I could imagine, and I am still standing. I want anyone watching this to know that if you have a bad feeling, listen to it. Don't let someone make you feel like you are crazy for noticing the truth. People can be very good at hiding who they are, but the truth always comes out eventually. It might hurt when it does, but it is better to know the truth than to live a lie. I am still careful about who I trust, but I am not closed off. I know that not everyone is like him. I am taking my time and focusing on my own happiness for now. I don't need a perfect story or a perfect guy. I just want something real. And real doesn't hide things in blue folders. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to tell, but if it helps even one person trust their gut, then it was worth it. Life goes on, and sometimes the ending of one story is just the beginning of a much better one where you are the main character and you are finally free.